Every gardener dreams of soil that stays alive, loose and fertile all season long without constant work. Bags of fertilizer promise quick results, but nothing compares to what worms can do when they move in and start producing castings directly in your raised bed. The problem is, most gardeners only see worms as occasional visitors, or they assume castings can only be harvested from bins or bought in bags. But there's a strange trick, overlooked by many, that convinces worms to not just pass through your bed, but to stay, eat, and build their black gold right where your plants need it most. Once you learn this, your raised bed transforms from a simple container into a living worm farm. Before revealing the trick, it's worth reminding ourselves why castings are so valuable. Worm castings aren't just decomposed matter. They are pre-digested nutrients wrapped in a sticky coating of beneficial microbes. Every granule of casting holds more microbial life than the surrounding soil, which means nutrients stay locked in and available to plants longer. Castings improve structure, boost water-holding capacity, and protect roots from diseases by surrounding them with a shield of biology. Unlike synthetic fertilizers that spike growth then fade, castings release nutrients steadily and build long-term fertility. When worms produce castings directly in your bed, those benefits are delivered exactly where roots are searching. There is no hauling, no spreading, no dilution of life along the way. The living soil becomes the factory, and your plants harvest the results immediately. Raised beds are fantastic for control and convenience, but they are often sterile compared to ground soil. Many are filled with mixes heavy in composted bark, peat, or perlite. These drain well, but lack the deeper ecosystems worms thrive in. Worms don't stay unless there's food, shelter, and moisture in balance. A raised bed that dries too fast or is too uniform doesn't invite them to linger. Instead, they move on, leaving gardeners puzzled why worm activity never lasts. That's where the trick comes in. By giving worms exactly what they want in the environment they want it, you flip your raised bed from a stopover into a permanent worm hotel. The secret is simple but powerful. Burying concentrated pockets of organic matter directly in your raised bed, creating hidden worm feeding stations. Gardeners often toss scraps on top where they dry out, attract pests, or mold without ever drawing in worms. But burying the right material just below the root zone creates a moist, dark, and protected pocket of food that worms can't resist. Worms are natural tunnelers. When they discover a food-rich patch beneath the soil, they set up camp. They eat, excrete, and keep returning to the spot until it's transformed into a pocket of pure castings. Because these pockets are scattered across the bed, the worms slowly stitch together zones of fertility, leaving behind networks of tunnels that aerate soil, while plant roots benefit from a steady supply of fresh castings. Not all organic matter works the same. Worms are most drawn to soft, partially decomposed materials. Rotten fruit, soaked cardboard, or spent coffee grounds mixed with shredded leaves all make excellent bait. What makes this trick strange is that you aren't composting in the usual sense. You're intentionally burying unfinished scraps in specific pockets, then letting the worms finish the job underground. The key is moderation. A single handful buried in one corner every week is enough to draw and hold a worm population. Too much in one place can turn anaerobic, but small pockets disappear quickly as worms swarm them. In essence, you're creating a living worm feeder hidden inside the bed. Once the first pocket is discovered, the behavior shift is immediate. Worms don't just pass through, they stay, multiply, and build castings right there. They leave behind worm highways that roots follow, finding air and nutrient-rich channels. Over time, worms learn to anticipate new food in those beds, and the population stabilizes at a level that matches your feeding rhythm. The fascinating part is how castings spread beyond the buried scraps. Worms drag particles of food through tunnels, depositing castings along the way. As plants grow, their roots intersect these zones and draw from the microbial-rich deposits. In just one season, a raised bed that was static and lifeless becomes dynamic, constantly renewed by the silent labor of worms. Worm castings work because of the unique biology inside a worm's gut. As material passes through, it is inoculated with beneficial bacteria and fungi. These microbes not only accelerate decomposition but also help suppress harmful pathogens. Castings have a near-neutral pH, making them ideal for balancing soils that tend to swing too acidic or alkaline. When worms are fed underground in raised beds, The castings don't just sit in clumps, they integrate with the surrounding soil particles, forming aggregates that improve structure. This means better aeration, better water retention, and stronger resilience against compaction. Essentially, every feeding pocket becomes a miniature soil-building engine. Many gardeners try vermicomposting in bins or, buy bags of castings from stores. While those methods have value, they just lack the direct, living benefit of in-bed casting production. Worm bins require constant attention, and honestly, the castings must still be harvested and applied. Bagged castings are excellent, but they lose much of their living microbial activity the longer they sit on a shelf. By contrast, worms producing castings in your raised bed create them fresh, alive, and in the exact spot roots can use them immediately. It's kind of like the difference between eating freshly picked fruit and something that's been stored for months. Both nourish, but one brims with vitality while the other has faded. The best time to begin is early in the season when beds are freshly planted. Choose a corner of the bed or a gap between plants and dig a small hole about 6 inches deep. Add your chosen worm bait, whether it's a blend of soft scraps, soaked cardboard, or decomposed fruit, and cover it completely with soil. Water lightly to ensure moisture without sogginess. Check back after a week. If the material is gone, worms have found it. If it remains, keep the area moist and wait longer. Once worms discover the first pocket, begin creating new ones in other corners, always burying small amounts. Over time, the worms establish a rhythm with you, expecting and thriving on these underground deposits. Gardeners who practice this strange trick often notice changes within a single season. Soil that once dried too quickly begins holding moisture longer. Plants look greener, grow faster, and resist stress better. Over multiple seasons, the improvement compounds. Worm populations increase, casting deposits accumulate, and the bed essentially transforms into a self-renewing vermicompost system. Unlike fertilizers that must be reapplied, this system builds fertility permanently. Even if you stop feeding for a time, the improved soil structure and worm tunnels remain, continuing to benefit plants. What makes this method remarkable is not just the science but the partnership it represents. Instead of seeing worms as background players, you are recruiting them as full-time workers in your raised bed. By giving them shelter and food in the way they prefer, you unlock their natural ability to create black gold on site. It's a shift in mindset, from adding compost externally to building it internally, season after season. The strange trick of burying organic pockets may seem too simple to be effective, but it harnesses the natural instincts of worms in a way that transforms raised beds. Instead of sterile mixes that need constant amending, your soil becomes alive with activity, producing castings exactly where your plants need them. The result is stronger growth, richer flavor, and a garden that thrives with less outside input. If this guide gave you fresh insight into working with worms rather than against them, make sure to subscribe to Botanical Bliss for more soil secrets and natural gardening methods. Share this video with a gardener friend who struggles with lifeless raised beds, and help them discover that the best worm farm might be right in their own backyard.